be exploring the basics of HTML and CSS, and we will also be applying them for our practical use. And moving forward, I really hope that you all are excited for our first workshop together. So without any further ado, let's jump right in and start with some basics about websites. So first of all, I need to explain to you about the three layers of a website. There are three layers of a website. In order for you to fully understand, visualize, and then grasp the concept of how HTML and CSS and JavaScript work together in synchrony to show you the websites that we know and love. So in short, if you understand the anatomy of a website, that is, if you imagine that a website is like a human body, so the HTML is basically your skeleton, or what you call the structure, and then the CSS is nothing but your skin. It's you can say a description of that structure, or how you want to show that structure. So that's what CSS does. And finally, your JS, that's your JavaScript, is basically nothing but your muscles in your in the anatomy of a website. So after that, now you might have a question like, why do we need to say separate these three layers? Like, there's a question, right? Like, why can we not keep them all jumbled up in one file? This is a really serious question, which many even interviewers, they ask this question. So there are many reasons, among which I have gathered, you can say, some of the most important ones. So the first reason is shared resources. Let's say, for example, you have 10 plants in your backyard, okay, or in your balcony. So you have two options. One is that you can go and water each one of them one by one using a pot. Like, you can go and water plant number 1, then 2, then 3. But as you might have already expected, that this is a really tedious process. It will take a lot of time. It will waste a lot of resources. So what you can do to solve this problem is, let's say you connect a pipe, right? And you can just add water at the one end and drip the water to all of those plants simultaneously. So that would be a much more better process, right? So similarly, what happens is that if you just look at the slide, what happens I'm just giving an example of CSS, right? So if we have one CSS file which is separate, and we link it to say 20 or 30 HTML files, just by changing this one CSS file over here, we can affect all the 30 HTML files together, like simultaneously. It becomes really easy. So that was one reason. And the second reason is, of course, we have faster downloads. So what are faster downloads? Well, what happens is that, let's say you have a very stylish website. Let's say you have added say 10 MBs of CSS in that file. Now what happens when the browser loads is that it needs to access those files, those styles for HTML, right? So if you have separated the CSS file and the index, you can use that same CSS file for multiple HTMLs, as I told before. So once it's downloaded, the browser can store that file in its cache and apply these styles to the rest of the HTML. And you will, of course, learn more about this as we move on throughout this course. And the third one, which is the final one, is accessibility. Now just imagine that for some time, just imagine that you are a piece of screen reader software. You need to go and read a screen, right? And you need to access the text in the web page, just the text. Now just imagine that, wouldn't things get much simpler if you could just access the text and not get jumbled up in all those styles and scripts that are in the website. So I guess, like, I hope you understood what I meant. So these are some of the reasons. There are many more reasons that we separate and keep these layers in different files. So I guess that was enough talk on theory. And now let's gather our tools and let's start with HTML. So just a quick question before we start. I wanted to know if you all know about VS Code. Like, well, if you have VS Code installed, please type yes in the chat box, or you can simultaneously you can just type no if you don't. I'll be looking at your responses. Okay, so I guess you got the message. That's really a good thing. Okay, now once you have VS Code installed, you need to also install the live server extension, which is basically an extension that will allow us to deploy and render our files, and we can see the output of our HTML files in real time. We don't even need to reload that. Okay, so I will just give you a quick demo on how to do that. If you just look at my screen over here, this is how, when you open VS Code, this is the first page most of you will see. If you just go to the left menu, and here over here you have the the extensions panel. If you just open this, you can just search for any extension. There are many extensions. You can just search for live server over here. Live server. If you just open this, this is the logo for live server. You can just install. Now currently I have it installed, and once you install it, you will be able to see the go live button on the bottom screen, like on the lower end of the screen. Okay. Okay, so just closing that, and let me just, can you just type yes if you have already installed that, installed the live server? Okay, okay, fine. That's really good to hear. Okay, so that's a good news for me. So we'll be moving forward. So first of all, now we have finally reached the point where we are going to start HTML, right? After all of this, chit chat. So now so first of all, like before, starting any language, you should understand a bit of the introduction of that website,
Hello,
right?
Hamza.
So, yes, hello.
Sorry to
Yes,
interrupt.
Zaki.
Yeah,
Yes.
could you just wait for a minute?
Yes, no problem.
Yeah, like I have messaged you on WhatsApp. You can check it.
Okay, one. Okay, so I am really sorry for the delay, guys. Actually, I was informed that there was another link that I had to join because, like, as of now, you can say Google doesn't allow more than 100 participants, I guess. Okay, no problem. So, yeah, I mean, the people who have just joined, I mean, you have not missed much. All that was just, covered was the three layers of the website and, how to install and the live server extension. Yes, okay. I will be sharing the screen here also. Uh, okay, so meeting number 2. I hope you guys can see my screen. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so finally we are going to start with HTML5. Now, just before starting, let me give you, a brief introduction of HTML. And I mean, believe me, this is not that brief word, that you see in exams where you have to provide a 2-page answer to explain briefly, So it's actually going to be brief. So in case, some of you might have not done your homework, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, which basically does the job. I mean, this HTML, this language, what it does is that it does the job of describing the structure of a web page using a series of elements which instruct the web browser on how to display the content of a website. Now, मुझे पता है किसी को like जो लोग नए हैं उन लोग को नहीं समझ है. I know you didn't get it. Okay, so don't worry. I will be explaining this again. So basically, what happens in any HTML is that you have a set of elements, right? You have many elements like h1, which we'll be seeing further. So what these elements do is basically they tell the browser. Browser जो होता है, like for example, you might have Chrome, you might have Opera, you might have Brave, or some of you might have Internet Explorer. Okay, okay. So these are browsers, and the HTML file basically instructs these browsers on how to show the content of your HTML web page. So that's like the job of HTML. So now moving forward to the next slide, let us start with HTML now. That was the introduction. Like that was it. That was brief, right? Okay. So the HTML part is basically everything from the start tag to the end tag. Okay, and the content is in the middle of these start tag and end tag. If you just look towards the screen over here, there's a very nice diagram where this is your element. I mean, your element is basically the whole thing, and this element over here, it consists of three things. Okay, it consists of three things, which is the first one is your opening tag. Okay, and how the opening tag syntax is basically you are using these angular brackets over here, and the tag name goes between those angular brackets. And then you have your content, like this is the content part. It's just written, this is the content. Okay, and in the end you have your closing tag name with just a new thing, that is a slash over here. This is just so that you can differentiate between the opening tag and the closing tag, this slash over here. And these are some examples of the HTML elements. For example, you have the h1 tag, and then you have the content in between, and then you have the h1 closing tag. Now together, I mean, if I would say all of this line, this whole line would be known as the h1 element. Okay, but if I tell you h1 tag, h1 starting tag, this would be the starting tag. In the middle of the starting tag and the end tag would be your content. Okay, so I guess that's really simple. I mean, I don't need to like take a whole lecture on that. That's really simple. I hope you understand. So if you have any questions, believe me, if you have if you didn't understand this, don't be shy. You can just type it in the chat box, or you can simply unmute your mic and ask the question. Okay, so moving forward, let's learn something about nested elements. Okay, and let's take a look at how we use them in an actual web page. So let's look at the concept of nesting. Like, what is nesting? I mean, this is, for some of you, it might be a new word, like nest. Okay, so consider your home as an element. Okay, just imagine like your home is an element, and you yourself are nested inside your home. So that's what the meaning of nested is. मतलब बोलते हैं तुम घर के अंदर हो. So you are nested in your house, right? So similarly, nested elements are elements inside other elements, right? Or you can say contained by other elements. So that's, I mean, that's really simple, right? So okay, for example, you can just see here, over here we have an example of a nested element. So in this, you can say that the P element is nested inside the div element. Okay, the P element is, I repeat myself, the P element is nested inside the div element. Okay, so I mean, this is also really simple. And in HTML, one more thing I just like to add is that we display this nest using an indent over here. Like you can see this space, so that this P is nested inside this. Now this is a really simple example, but when you go in complicated websites, like when you type you can say 10 to 20 lines of code, it becomes harder to distinguish which element is nested inside which. So for that we use this indentation over here. So this is also a new word for, I guess, some of you, indentation. Okay, so that's it. So now we'll be moving further, and one more thing, if you just notice the diagram on the right side, this diagram is basically displaying the different levels of indentation. For example, you have the HTML tag, and inside this HTML tag you have your head tag and your body tag. So, this shows us that two elements can be nested inside one element, right? So that's simple. And then, you have the title tag, which is again, nested inside your HTML, inside your head tag. And similarly, in the body tag, you have H1 and P. Okay, so now let's look at the HTML boilerplate. So, the best way, I guess, to explain what a boilerplate is, for someone who doesn't know what a boilerplate is. For example, whenever build a building, you require a strong and good and what you call a well-laid foundation, right? Your foundation should be really good in order for your building to be strong and handle all the load, right? So similarly, when you start developing a website, a good template, a good template of the website is always appreciated by developers. So, as a boilerplate in HTML is basically a template that you will add to your web page to basically make the web page much more readable and manageable. Okay. So now, right now, I would just, like to show you this diagram over here, which is the basic boilerplate 5. Okay. It has a bunch of tags that, we have like arranged in a specific order over here. Like, for example, you have the HTML, and then inside the HTML, you have the head tags and some of the meta tags. Now, don't worry if this, seems like confusing to you. We will, be covering like each and everything and about the boilerplate. So don't worry. And then you have the title tag, link tag. Okay. So, one of the best facts, one of the best things about being an what you say a web developer is that you don't have to memorize like any of it. Okay, for example, you can just get the whole boilerplate written for you by VS Code by just typing HTML5 and hitting enter. I would just like to give you a demo of this. Like, if you just go now, we will start the real coding part, right? Now we're going to start. So first of all, I would like you all to go and open your folder where you have where you want to code. So in my case, you can see we have a web workshop folder. You can just open any workshop folder and just select that folder. I will just close my extensions tab. 1 minute. So yes, so as you can see here, I have just opened my folder where I'm going to do the web development. Now, what we need to do is in this folder we need to add a file. So as you can see on my screen, we have an add file button, and also we have an add folder. So don't get confused between this. We have to basically add a file. So once we open the file, we can just name the file like really simple name. Let me say first web page. Let us just name it first web page for people like who's actually making this first web page. And we are just going to give it an extension of HTML. This shows that this is HTML, right? So okay, just click enter, and you are inside your file. And now once you are inside your file, what you could do is just start writing the code. Like, you could just start writing a paragraph tag, and then making the other tags. But as I told you, for a good website, you need to have a good foundation. So the best way is to start with an HTML boilerplate. Now, to access and to get the HTML boilerplate, you don't need to type all of this. 1 minute. You don't need to just go and type all of this code. All you have to do is just get back over here. Okay, and just type HTML, and as you can see, it already is showing here, and :5. Once you enter that, you will already get your boilerplate, a basic boilerplate ready for you. Okay, so now after this like small coding part, I would just like to ask you, like, are you following like what I'm doing? Like, you can just type in the chat box, like, are you following what I'm doing?
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, you are audible.
Hello. I'm saying, can you repeat how to make a file before coding, start coding?
Yeah, sure, no problem, no problem. You can just go on your desktop, for example. You can just click on new, and then click on folder, and just name a folder, like you can say web workshop, like that, and just click enter. I mean, that's it, right? You can just create this, and then after that, how? Let me just show you. Actually, I guess your question was how to access that folder, right? So you have to go in the top menu in the file section, and then over here you have to click on open folder. Hello? I hope you got it, right?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay, you have to just
Yes, yes.
click on open folder and then navigate to that folder wherever you have created. In my case, it was here, this folder. So you can just select that folder and open it, right? And after that, you can. I'm just repeating myself again. You have to click over here to create that new file, and you have to name that file to whatever name you want. .html. This .html is basically your extension of that file, which will tell the VS Code that it's an HTML file. Okay. So okay, I guess that question is solved. So now we'll be moving
Yes,
forward.
thank you.
I hope you got your HTML plate. Yeah, most of you answered that you got your HTML plate. 1 minute.
Can you show again how you got the HTML boilerplate? What
Yeah,
did you
no problem.
type there?
Yeah, basically, I'll just remove this. All you have to do is type HTML5 and then click enter. So this is a bigger one. Or you can just click HTML. It will already give you suggestions. VS Code is going to give you some suggestions to get that boilerplate. Okay, so I hope you have done it. I hope. Can you please answer?
Yeah,
Yes,
got
sir.
it, got it.
Okay, no problem. Okay, thank you. So moving to the next slides. 1 minute. Yeah. So now we have started with our coding. Let's see some interesting facts about HTML. Well, I have a question, a really good question for you people. Now you know the concept of elements, right? You know what tags are. You know what starting tag is. You know what an ending tag is, and you know that a content goes between those tags, and together these things are known as elements, right? Now, just for example, let's say you forget by chance you forget to put an end tag. Like for example, if I just go to my code over here. And what I do is, let's say I take a p tag, okay, and purposely I just forget to put this tag over here. What do you think should happen? Like, should this website work, or should uh, the browser gives me like an error? What do you think your answer is? What's your answer? Okay, so I guess many people are like they say error. Well, the best way to understand is to run this thing. Okay, so I've just as you can see added a p tag over here. I'll just increase the size of this. Okay, and let us say this is a p tag. Sorry, let's say element without end tag. Okay, and now at this point, I would like you all to focus your attention to how I'm actually going to run this website. So this is the power of live server, that is actually renders your website in actual time. So all you have to do to run your website is basically check the bottom right corner, and you can see a go live button over here. I hope you all can see this. Okay, and once you hover over that, it says click to run the live server. You just click it and it says starting, and basically redirects you to the port. And as you can see, the output is valid. I mean, many of you just said that you would get an error, but as you can see, it says, the website says this is a p element without an end tag, right? So one of the fun facts about HTML is that some HTML, not all HTML elements, but some HTML elements like the p tag will display correctly even if you forget the end tag. But one more thing is that you should never rely on this, because sometimes what happens is that if you have multiple p tags, if you have more than one, your browser may get confused, like where does this p tag start and where does this end. So it's always a good practice to end the tags with an end tag. So yeah, that's it. and you should, like, it's not good to forget the end tag. Okay, so you have to remember. And one more feature of VS Code is that, if you just see, if for example, if I just remove this and I type the p tag, like I'm just doing p, and once I hit enter on p and close this, automatically what VS Code is doing is that it gives me the end tag. I don't even have to type the end tag. I mean, that's the luxury that you get when you start using VS Code. मतलब इतना अच्छा है, सब तुमको like free में करके दे रहा है VS Code. Okay. Okay, so one more fact about HTML is, about the doc type declaration. If you just, look at the HTML file, on the top, you see one doc type HTML. Now, this is basically not a tag. Many people, confuse it, get confused that even this is a tag, like a doc type tag. Well, it's not a tag, and it's, basically it just gives the browser information about what file type is, and what to expect from this file. So for in our example, in our boilerplate, we see that the doc type is set to HTML. So I hope you understood that. Okay. Okay. And yeah, one more fun fact about HTML is that there exists some elements. Some elements exist which do not have an end tag, and which do not need an end tag. So if you don't have an end tag, of course you are not going to type content over there. So these elements, which have no end tag, and which for which you don't need to provide any content, are known as, you guessed it, empty tags. Okay. For example, BR is one of those tags. So now, just to give you an example, I would like to minimize this screen and show you side by side about how this is working. So let us say I,
Hello.
write a yes. Yes, you're speaking. Okay, so I guess that was a mistake. Okay, so let us say I type my
Sir,
name.
my
Yes.
that option of live server is not visible to me, and I did install it.
Uh, I guess you have to basically restart your VS Code in order to
Okay,
get that.
okay,
And
I will try
you
that.
can enlarge your screen. Sometimes if you just keep half screen, you might not be able to see that.
Okay, okay,
So you have to enlarge the screen and show.
okay, I
Okay.
will try that.
So okay. So continuing, let us say my name is over here, and I'll just give you an example of what the BR tag does. Okay. So let us say my name is, and in the next thing, I type it again with an H1 tag. Now, in case you don't know what an H1 tag is, don't get nervous. I mean, H1 is basically just for header. So one more H1 tag with a slash, of course, not to forget. Oh, sorry. Let us say inside this I type my name is Hamza. Okay. So now let us see what it's showing over here. As you can see, the output says my name is Hamza simply. Okay. Now let us say I want my name to be in the next line. So like you use slash n in Python or like that. What you do in HTML is simply add a BR tag. So a BR tag is nothing but just you use two angular brackets and type BR in between. And for this tag, you don't need any end tag. As you can see, it's not even automatically adding the end tag, because Visual Studio Code already knows that you don't need the end tag. And now, let us see what happens if I just, paste this BR over here between my name is and Hamza. So as you can see, the line changes. This is just an example of, what empty tags are. There are many more, and we will be learning them in further slides. Okay. And the last interesting fact about HTML is that, HTML is not case sensitive. For example, if I, change this H1 over here to, let's say, capital H. Okay. So let's see what happens. If I just reload the page, you can see it's still working. So, one thing that you need to remember, I mean, this question is, also gets repeated and, asked in many other places where you go for, web developer interviews and all, that is HTML case sensitive. Some of the languages are case sensitive, but HTML is not case sensitive. Okay. So I guess that's all. That was really easy, I hope. You can, like, right now, I guess some of you might have questions. So you can go ahead and type your questions, or, you can just simply unmute your mic and ask. I'll you can say wait for 5 to 10 seconds if that's fine with you. You can
Hello.
just ask questions if you have. Yes, Sheikh
My
Alias.
question was, how do you get that live website button in your tab? Can you repeat that session?
Well, you basically have to install your live server, and once you install your live server, it gets automatically there. I hope you can see the screen, right? You just have to go over to the extensions. Have you installed it or not yet? Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Your voice was
Have
breaking.
you?
I didn't get it.
Okay. So have you installed live server yet?
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's still not showing.
No.
Well, do one thing. Just close your VS Code and start it again. Maybe it's just some glitch, you can say, because most of the people, they have already got the HTML.
Yeah, I did that.
So it's still not working.
No. Can you repeat how you gone to that page live website?
Bro,
Uh,
I was having
where
the
in your
same
tab
error.
the
So
live?
I have just disabled and enabled it. So I got that.
Okay, I'll try that.
Just disable that
Okay.
live server and enable that again.
There's one
Actually,
more
see,
way, Adi.
one more thing I would just like to say that is, this live server thing, it was like, already set. So you could have done it, but no problem if you are still doing it. But I guess, because I mean, I totally understand what's happening with you. But since, we have limited time, I guess I would like questions, about what we have spoken on HTML. Like, if anyone has any questions. Okay. So I guess like you all understood. I mean, okay, it was really basic, right? So I guess you all understood.
So
That's a really
my
good
question
thing.
is that
Yes.
HTML just helps us to write things in a website. Just helps us to write
Uh,
things like
yeah,
where should be
basically
the
HTML,
header.
as I told you before, as
Hmm.
I have told you before, that HTML
Yeah.
is the structure of your website. Right? It's like the skeleton.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all the content, like literally
Okay.
everything that's on your website, the content.
Hmm.
Okay, I mean
Content.
the
Okay.
text is it comes from your HTML.
Text. And what
Okay.
about images and backgrounds?
Yes, the images also, they also come from your, as I told you, content. Content, includes
Content.
everything like your image,
Hmm. Yeah.
like links, like your hyperlinks and etc. They all come from your
Yeah.
HTML. And of
Okay.
course, you will be learning more about them in the next slides. Okay, so that was a really good question. Now moving further, let's start with the basic tags that you need to know. Now there are like approximately 100 plus tags, okay, in HTML. So what we have done is we have like gathered all the most important tags that any web developer should know. So let us start with those. So as we know, in any work environment, for example, let's say college, different people do different jobs. Like you have your teachers, you have your admin, you have different faculties. So similarly, in HTML, what different elements have different outputs, right? Different elements have different outputs. And just to let you know, like I already told this, that there are 100 plus HTML tags, right? So, but we don't need to learn all of them. So what we will do is look for let's say quality over quantity, and we will be studying about the most significant and the most relevant tags that every web developer should know and understand. So let's see, the first tag in our, when we start, is the HTML tag. Now what the HTML tag does is that it represents the root of an HTML document. Okay, I will just shift to the page so that you will be learning this directly from the code editor. Okay, so basically what the HTML tag does is that it's the root of an HTML document. So if you can see here, basically HTML, if I just keep this down, so HTML contains all of the code, like except for this doc type declaration, which is not a tag. So all the other things go inside the HTML tag. Okay, so this is like one of the, let's say, uh, what you call standards of HTML, right? This is a standard. Now, of course, if you remove this HTML tag, your code will still work, with tags. But this is, let's say, a standard that you need to follow whenever you build a website. So moving towards the next tag, which is the head tag. As you can see in our boilerplate, a head tag is already present. Okay, so a head tag is basically an element container for metadata, which is basically data about data. Like for example, if you see here, we have the charset UTF-8, which is basically the encoding that your browser is going to use, and you have the name of this metadata, that is your viewport, and so on. Actually, you don't need to understand this as of now, because this is somewhat advanced, and you have to understand the browser side of how this thing works. So basically, you don't need to learn this right now, but it's just there, and you can look out for documentation after that. So as this is a beginner's one, we will continue to the title tag. Now, a title tag is really important. As you can see over here, in the head section, in the head element, we have the title element. And the title tag defines the title of the document. It defines the title of the document. Okay, so the little must be text only. The title must be text only, and it is shown in the browser's title bar or in the pages tab. I'll just show you an example. For example, as you can see here, my document is open, right? You can see over here on the top in your browser, you can see that this title is document. Now let us say if I just go over here and change the title to, let's say, about me. Sorry for that caps. Let's say I just make it to about me. So as you can see, it changes over here, and you get the title name changed as about me. So like that's basically what the title tag does. Now I'll be moving to the next slide over here. 1 minute. Yes. So now we will be exploring towards and we'll be looking at the body tag. So basically, the body tag defines the document's body. Now, as I told you, we will be relating the website to anatomy. We will be relating it to like a body. Yes. So basically, the body tag defines the document's body. Like whatever you are going to include in the body is defined by the body element. Okay. So for example, like you can include your eyes, nose, mouth, ears, etc. in your body, right? So that body tag is like a container for all the other elements that you are going to display on your website. So yeah, the body element also contains all the contents. Okay. And one more thing to remember is that there can be only one body tag in an HTML document. Okay. Just for fun, let me tell you one thing, that if you even add here in this, if you add one more body tag, let's say I want to break the rules. I just add a body tag. I just cut this from here and paste it inside one more body tag, just for fun. The code will still work, but the problem is that once the other user, if you just show this code to someone else, the code becomes much less readable. He may not be able to understand where your code starts from and where it ends. So it's always as a practice, better to keep only one body tag. So this is also, you can say, a rule, right? Okay. So moving towards the next tag, we have our style tag. Okay. Now the style tag is a really interesting one, because it helps. It's used to basically define the styles information. The CSS, which you are going to learn in the further slides, for a document. So inside the style element, you specify how HTML should render in a browser. So what you are doing inside the style tag is you put all your styles, and you basically tell the browser how to display those contents. Okay, like you can set your color, you can set the border, and many more features, which we will be looking when we reach CSS. Okay, and last but not the least, you have your script tag. This is a really important tag, which is used to embed, and you can say connect your HTML file. It is used to, note this, connect your HTML file to your JavaScript file. And as you know, we will be having JavaScript tomorrow. So this tag will be really used tomorrow. And we will be connecting our JavaScript and HTML using the script tag. So I guess that's it for this slide. So now let's start to code, and let's start quickly implementing some of the basic tags that we need to understand and which play a role on the website. So first of all, we will be looking at some of the headings. So So we will be looking at the headings. So let us see, the H1 to H6 tags are the most used to define are used to define HTML headings. So as probably most of you know, what are headings, right? They are like supposed to be big, they are supposed to be bold, they are supposed to grab your attention, they are supposed to be like these big lines of text. So let us look. H1 defines the most important heading, whereas H6 defines the least important heading. So we'll just be coding this actually and looking what H1 and H6 do. Now for example, over here, if you just look at the screen, this over here is an H1. Okay, and just to remember, always we should keep our code in lowercase, because even that's the standard that people expect from you to store everything in lowercase, except for the content, of course. So okay, now we have made it H1. Now let us quickly add an H2 tag and look what it does. Now in H2, I would like to for keeping things simple, I will just input my name over here, and let's see what happens on the other side. As you can see, the size has you can say reduced. This is H1 over here on the top, and the below you have the H2. Just remove this. Okay, so now you can see the clear size comparison. Now similarly, I would as I guess this will be really boring for some people who have already started with HTML. You will just see that the size keeps on reducing. So I will just skip directly to H6 and show you what H6 is. It is just like a much smaller heading. As you can see, it just gets much smaller. So I guess that's it. That's enough for heading. Now one more tag which is important, and I guess you will be using this tag to build your portfolio, is this strong tag. Well, the strong tag is basically used to highlight text with strong importance. Basically, it's in short, it's just the bold that you use in Microsoft Word, right? You just press Control B and it makes it bold. So that's it. Like for example, let us say let's just comment this. And yeah, one more interesting thing about HTML, which I let's say forgot to tell you, was the comments. Okay, so you start the comment with your smaller than sign, then an exclamation and two minus signs. Or one more way to do this is just highlight the text and press Control and forward slash. You press Control and forward slash. So now I have removed it from comment. Now if I want to make it a comment again, I just press Control and forward slash. Control and forward slash. Okay. So now that's commented. And now we will be looking at the strong tag, as I told you. Okay, so let us add like some normal text. Let us use a p tag for that, which is a paragraph tag, which tells the browser that you have to display the content inside this tag as a paragraph. So let us say some information like my name is Hamza. Okay, and this time what I want to do is grab the user's attention towards Hamza. So one thing that I can do is basically use the strong tag. Strong, and as you can see, it just gets inside this. It automatically adds strong over here. Now let us look at what happened over here. As you can see, if I just enlarge this, I hope now it's clear. I forgot to enlarge it before actually. Hamza has been made in bold, and this is the rest of the text, and Hamza is in bold. So that's also really simple. Can you just can anyone please mute and tell me if I'm going too fast? If you think this is too fast, then I can slow down. Okay, can you please tell me?
Perfect.
No,
It's
sir.
perfect.
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so moving
Sir,
forward. So this is
excuse me.
basically your yes.
So can you repeat that strong tag part?
No problem. It's absolutely fine. I will repeat that. Okay, don't ask me. Can you? I will. Okay. So basically, strong. What strong does is do you know about bold that you use in Microsoft Word? Hello? Who asked the
Yes, sir.
question? Do you know about bold, right? You know a bold, Control B, right? In Microsoft
Yes,
Word.
sir.
So it basically does the exact same job, but the only difference is that it does the same thing in your website. So all you have to do to make it something bold, like for example, if I want to make my name bold over here, what I do is, put that name, which is Hamza, inside strong start tag and the strong end tag. Okay. I mean, that's all. So I hope you understood that. Okay.
Yes,
Just the
yes, sir.
start tag and content and the end tag. Okay. Okay. So we'll be moving forward. Now the one more tag that you need to understand is the EM tag, which is again, just giving a reference to the Microsoft Word, your, inclined text. What it does is that it's basically, used to emphasize text, and the content inside is typically displayed in italic. We call it an italic style. Now, in the same page, I can just show you this in the same page. It's really simple. Now, instead of strong, what I'm doing is, adding an EM tag inside. Okay. I'll just change the elements of strong to EM. So that's it, just EM. And as you can see over here, this text has been, italicized. It has been, inclined, you can say, like we do it in Microsoft Word. So that's also really simple. Now, the next tag that we are going to see, the A tag. This is a really important tag, and I would really like to grab your attention towards this tag. Is this tag, like we will be using this multiple times, and like I can say, like this is one of the most important tags that you will be using. Okay, so the A tag basically defines a hyperlink. Now you might be wondering what a hyperlink is. Like this is a new word for some of you guys. Like what a hyperlink is. A hyperlink is basically, a URL which is used to link one page to another. Now, let's say you have two HTML pages, and you click on one of the HTML pages, you have a button. And, now from that button, you want to go to the next HTML page. So once you click that button, you use basically an A tag to, include a link to that next HTML file. Now, I guess that's enough talking. I will just show you how it works. And yeah, one more thing is that, we use the href attribute in the tag. Now, you will also be seeing what attributes are. Okay. Okay, first we have our first web page over here. And, for an example, just for example, we have another page over here, which is my first web, my_first_web. You can just go ahead. If you want to test this, you can just go ahead and, add one more file, you can say, and then, you can test this. Coming back to my file, I'll just simply say comment this as well, and now we'll be looking at the A tag, right? So once you type A over here, you usually start getting, and you just press space. This is also one more extension, tab 9, which tells, you can say predicts what you are going to write. So once I click on that, when you type an A tag, you automatically get an HTTP request. Now, in this place, you can just type anything that you want. For example, let me just, give it google.com. Okay. So I guess that's it. And once I close this A tag, it will automatically, of course, give me an end tag. And, in tags, you have attributes. One more thing to remember is in tags, you have attributes. Now, what are attributes? Now, for example, let's say, I am a person. Okay. I am, just imagine for a second that I am an element. Okay. So you can say that my height, my age, my weight are basically my attributes, right? They describe me. They describe who I am, right? So similarly, tags have attributes which can be, used to specify some values. And inside attributes, one more thing is that the attribute has a key. Okay, this is the attribute, and that attribute has some value, and the values are, always passed in quotes. Okay, I hope you understood this. This is the attribute. Okay, inside the tag, there's the attribute, and you have the attribute that is the href. Okay, which is the hyperlink, and then you are passing your link over here as the value for that href. Okay. Now what I've done is, simply passed Google in there, and let us type some content for that A tag. Let us say, let us say click me. Okay. Just adding click me, in and some exclamations. Now let us check what happened over here. As you can see, it's always good to, view this side by side so that you can understand everything much more better. Just increase the size. Okay, this is your A tag over here. This is your attribute. I'm repeating this because this is really important. Okay, and then you have your URL. and then you have the text that you want to display, and then you have your closing tag. So now what happens if I click this click me? As you can see, this has, as it is inside the A tag on the web browser displays it as a clickable text. Now once I click it, it will basically take me to Google, or whatever website I want to mention over here, it will basically take me over there. So did you understand this? Can you please type your answers? Did you understand the A tag, or do you have any questions?
सर एक बार फिर से बताइए.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so looking at this is the A tag. I hope you understood what tags are, right? This is the A tag. Now inside the A tag, you have an href attribute. Now you might be confused what an attribute is. So as I told, like for example, I am a person, right? I have some attributes. मेरा जैसा मेरी height है, मेरी weight है, तो ये मेरे attributes होते हैं. मतलब मेरे बारे में ये कुछ चीज कहते हैं ना, कैसा like adjectives बोलते हैं ना. तो मतलब जैसा यू कैन से मेरी हाइट है, मेरा वेट है, तो ये मेरे एट्रीब्यूट्स है, समझ रहे? मुझे मतलब ये डिस्क्राइब करते मैं कौन हूँ. तो सिमिलरली टैग्स हैव एट्रीब्यूट्स एज वेल. So one of the attributes in the A tag that we are going to use, there are many more attributes. Believe me, there are many more. But just to keep this workshop basic, we are going to use the simple and the most useful one, which is the href attribute. Now this attribute has value. For example, मेरा weight एक attribute है. अब weight में value भी है ना. फॉर एग्जाम्पल मेरा वेट है 80, तो ये 80 जो है ये होगी एक वैल्यू. ओके, तो सिमिलरली इसमें जो href में हम लोग जो वैल्यू पास करेंगे, दैट वैल्यू इज द URL to which web page you want that A tag to take you to. Okay, now as I told you, for example, over here we just clicked on click me and it took me to Google. Why? Because I passed the href to google.com. I hope that answers the question. I hope you understood that. Okay, so there is one more question.
Yes, sir.
If you want to open link in new tab, then write attribute, target is equal to blank. Okay, so that's also a good thing. Actually, see, as I told, there are many attributes that you can have for each and everything. But to keep this basic, we are just sticking to the syllabus that we are going to require for making the portfolio at the end, right? So you can always learn this like many other tags from website. Read the documentation and so on. Okay, so moving forward, now once that's done, let's get back to the PPT. Okay, so I hope you all understood what A tag was. Now we'll be starting with something which is really important and some easy things. So we'll be starting with lists. So let's discuss lists. Okay. So okay, I would like to just ask you a question. Like, जब मैं list word बोलता हूँ, like when I say list, what comes to your mind? Like, give me some real life example of a list. Anyone, come on, just give me an example of a list. Come on, guys, just give me an example of a list. Yeah.
Name
चलो
of the
यार, मैं
students.
अरे यार इतना एडवांस नहीं है. Let me give you an idea of a list. मम्मी बोलते हैं ना, दही लाओ, ब्रेड लाओ, सब्जी लाओ. That's also a list, right? List लिख के देते हैं जो कि ये yeah, you have a shopping list. Yeah, that's a really good example. So we'll be looking similarly, as you know that we use lists in our everyday life, right? We use lists almost in our everyday life. So similarly, lists are really play a really important role in your web page, right? So we'll be looking and coding like how to display a list right now. So the basic tags that you need to know for making a list is the li tag, which is a short form, you can say, for list item. मतलब list के अंदर जो item है ना, which I told, bread, butter, sabzi, those are your list items. Okay, and then these list items are enclosed in either the UL tag. They are enclosed. You remember nested? They are nested in the UL tag or the OL tag, and we will be looking at the output, how the OL and the UL tag affect them. So quickly jumping to our page. Okay. Yes, opening this over here. We will just remove. Instead of remove, you can just comment this as well. Okay. Now moving to the next line. Let us add a list. So first of all, let us take an unordered list. UL is basically short for an unordered list. Unordered list, UL. I mean, it's that simple. Now, once you have added UL, you will automatically get the other one. Yeah, you got it automatically. So now inside the list, like एक पेपर होता है ना लिस्ट के लिए, पेपर के अंदर हम लोग लिखते हैं एलिमेंट्स, जो आइटम्स होते हैं, क्या क्या चाहिए. तो सिमिलरली ये जो पेपर है ना, that paper is your UL. Now UL is not going to show anything by itself, as you can see over here. Like nothing is displayed yet because we haven't added any items inside the list. So let us go ahead and add some. Let us say li, and inside this li, let us add say okay, bread. Okay, so now as you can see, you got an element over here. Now instead of typing li again, and just to keep things quick and concise, I'm just going to copy and paste that. Let us say bread, but I don't want to waste time. I hope you understood this, right? Hello. So basically, what we are doing is using a nested tag, the li nested tag. We are nesting li, that is the list elements, into the unordered list. Did you understand this, people? Can you please answer yes or no, like in the chat box, or unmute your mic, whatever.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's really good to know. Okay, so now let's see the difference between UL and OL. Okay, so now let's do one thing. Let us just copy this whole thing, and let's just paste it down at the bottom over here. Okay, so now you can see there are two lists. Now what I'm going to do, instead of typing everything again and like wasting your valuable time, I'm just going to change this to OL. Okay, which is an ordered list. Okay, OL is the full form for ordered list. And as you can see, the difference is that basically the items are same, but instead of the bullet points that you get over in the unordered list, what you are getting is the numbers in the ordered list. And one more fact is that you can also change the sequence by simply using the type tag. Let me just show you how it works. If I just this is also an attribute. As I discussed about attributes, you will feel quite familiar with these things when you like keep on practicing this. If you just add a type over here, let's say I type capital A. Now let's see what happens. As you can see, it has changed to A, capital A, B, C, D. Now similarly, there are more. Like for example, if I just add small a, of course समझदार के लिए इशारा काफी होता है. You can see that you have got a list of A, B, C, D that are small. Similarly, if you just type in I, you can get the what do you call this, the Roman numerals, I guess, right? That is 1, 2, 3, 4 in the same way. And there are some more, but we don't need to go and memorize everything. We can just look up, just Google it. Google pe jao or just Google karo ki, and get your answer from there simply. Most of your job is going to be copying from Google and pasting it in your code. Okay, so I guess that's it. We are like done with lists. So I guess it was really simple. So just like I want to ask again, like, did you really understand this? Can anyone please just quickly answer, like, did you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel that these things are really easy, and that's why I don't want to waste your time putting effort into this. Like anyone can understand this, and I guess you people are like really smart, and you are, let's say, i7 processors. You are understanding everything quickly. Okay, so now moving to the next tag, which is also an important one, is the image tag. And the image tag is used to embed, this is a good word, embed an image in an HTML page. So, that's the job. So now look at how the job is for. Let's look at, how the image tag, performs this job of, embedding the image. And, a point to be noted is that, as someone asked this question before, like, do you, like, does HTML just show the text, or does it even show the images? Well, you know what? Images are not technically inserted into the web page. Like for example, you have a web page. Your image is not inserted into that. What happens is that the images are linked to the web page. For example, if you see the image on the web, it's not actually inside that web page. The HTML file is completely separate. What it does is that it shows that image from the image file that is separate. And no better way to actually code and see this. Okay, so one more thing, just to create that concept, that the image tag, actually creates a holding space. It holds your image and the reference image for your website. Now, there are some basic attributes. There are some important attributes which we'll be looking once we go to code. Okay. Okay, first of all, let us give you all a task, like a really easy task. I would in the file where you have opened your HTML, like for example, it's web for me. Just click a new tab on your Google Chrome and just download any image that you like. It can be any image. For me, let us say cute kitten images. Okay, so let us just look at some kitten. And let us just download this. You can just click save image as. And one important thing that you need to do is save this in the same directory where your HTML, or in the same folder. Let me not say directory. Let me say in the same folder where your HTML file is there. Okay, just save it in the same thing. And let us say I rename it to pic. Okay, simply PIC. And the extension is JPEG. Okay, I'll just save it there. And as you can see, it just got downloaded. And once I get to my code, I can just enlarge this. 1 minute, let me just download it again. I guess it got downloaded into some other one. Save image as. Oh, okay, so it's there. It's not showing in my. Okay, no problem. So I have this image already over here, which is a kitten.jpg image. So let us look at how to display your image in your HTML file. So for that, as I mentioned earlier, we need the img tag, that is the image tag. That's short for image. Okay. So all you have to do is just type image, and once you click image, see, the thing is that you automatically get a source and an alt attribute. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, so you get a source attribute src, and then you have an alt attribute. Can I just ask you a quick question? I mean, do you have the image downloaded, or do you need time to download it?
Just 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Downloaded.
You can go ahead and download the image, or you can already just transfer some image that you already have. I mean, it's not necessary to get that kitten image. You can just get any image. Okay, so moving forward. In the image tag, now what we need is a source and an alt. Okay. Now, what these two attributes do are really important. Well, in this source, you have to pass the link for that image, or the location of that image in your folder. So, as I am currently in the same folder, all I need to do is just type kitten dot as you can see, VS Code already shows me that a kitten.jpg is there, and so just click enter. So this is my source. This is the image that I want to be displayed in this image tag. Okay. And in the ALT, what this ALT is used for is that, in case, your image is not displayed, or, your browser doesn't say support the format of your image. So what will happen is that it will display the ALT message. So let us just type that, let's select that image was not supported. Okay, so that's like simple. So now let us just quickly see, have a look at our website over here. As you can see, there is a big image of a kitten. I mean, that's all. And remember one thing. I mean, you are not going to use this. You are not going to build your web page like that. I mean, we'll be looking at as well. So right now, this is just the working of the image tag. Now, once again, I would like to question you all that did you understand this? Did you understand the image tag? Like, if you didn't understand anything, you can just
we
ask.
did understand.
Okay. So once again, just the source and alt. Alt is the message that will be displayed in case the source doesn't work or the image cannot be rendered into your HTML page. Okay. And one more important thing that I wanted to mention about two more attributes were the width. Width and your height attribute, height. Okay. So these are some attributes that are really important. You can resize your image using this. Now I don't think I need to explain to you what width and height is, right? You are too smart to get that on your own. Okay, so without any wait, let
Is
us
there,
like simply go to
excuse
the
me, is
yes,
there
yes.
any sequence to put ALT width and height?
No, no. Actually, see, the thing is that even if it's not there, it would work because these are basically different values. Like for example, I told you my attributes, right? Is it necessary to say my weight before I say my height? No, of course. I mean, they have
Okay.
values. Even see, for example, till now these values were not there, right? Width and height, I didn't mention it, but the code was still working because they have some defaults. By default, the original
Yeah,
width and the height is there.
correct.
So yeah, you don't actually need to do that. You can just go with any order, but it's better to keep the you can say the standard format, which is the source and alt. It's always a better practice to learn web development in the standard way, you can say, because it makes it easier for other people who are working on that same website. Okay, so that was a really good question. Now let's move to the next page. One minute, which is the table. Now, a table is also a really important thing. Now, can anyone just, give me an example of, like, where do you see tables, like, an example of, where you would use tables in, your real life?
To keep something.
Yeah, actually, that's a really example. I was expecting you, to say the tables in HTML, and I was expecting to crack that joke, but that
Database.
guy, he was really smart. अरे अरे that's too advanced. Actually, इसने मेरी मुंह की बात छीन ली. Okay, so no problem. Uh, so yeah, as you are right, we can use them in databases. We can basically use tables to store keys and then their values, right? For example, I'll just give you a basic example. And yeah, one more thing is that for declaring table and using tables, we need to use some basic tags, which are the tr tag, which is nothing but the table row. So you have rows in table, right? Like you have columns and then you have rows. So you use the tr, which is the table row, and the th tag, which is nothing but sorry, your head, and then you also use the td, which is the table data. Now how we use this, I will just basically show this in my VS Code. Just go to the website quickly. Yes, the code side by side. So let us just remove this image at, as the kitten is too cute. Going to the next one. So as I told you, we are going to start with the table tag. Okay, so let's quickly just type table. Okay, once we close it, we automatically get the other tag. Now in the indent of the table tag. Now, okay. Now basically table, as you know, is not going to display anything, right? Because as I told you before, table is like, just the container. Now you haven't added any values in there. So it's not going to show anything. So, let's go ahead and add something. Let us say table row. Okay. And now inside this row, now this is a row, right? Horizontal row. Now inside this row, let us say I want to, add, uh, let us say anything. We can be, adding the age. Let us say I say table data. Okay. Now inside the row, I'll be adding the data, right? So I'm adding table data as, let us say Hamza. Okay. So as you can see, Hamza appears over there, which is the content. Now similarly, let us add one more row. Let us say TD, and let us take like one of your names, like where are you people? Okay, so let's take Rahil Harg. Okay, Rahil. Let us just quickly type there Rahil, and let us add one more. Just quickly let us say I add a friend of mine. Let's say Daniel. Okay, so that's it. Now let us say this is one row, right? As you can see here, we get a row. Okay. Now you might be wondering, like, where are the columns and where are the lines that separate this? So just to understand that, we will be adding that later on, using CSS, because to add that we need CSS, and I'll be also showing you that. So let's just quickly add one more row. Let us say tr. And in this row, what I want to add is the, let us say, weights of us. And yeah, one more thing is that let us change this to th actually. That is table head, which will basically do nothing but make it bold, so that you know the name of the column. Th is used to show you the name of the column. As you can see, all the three have become bold. And now in the tr, let us say I'm adding the weights. So let us say I weight 80. Sorry, just put the table data. Just add 80 kgs. Okay. And you know what? I don't actually know what you all weight. So I'm just adding. Don't. Okay. And in the end, let us add one more. Just to show you quickly. Let's say 60. No, that becomes too lean. Let it be 75. Okay. So that's it. Like quickly just add kgs. As you can see, we have this really messy and like really bad table. But once you highlight this, you can see that there is something that is like separating this. So we will be adding some CSS like quickly. Now see, I will be explaining this concept to you again, but right now I'm just adding it quickly so that we can get over with the HTML table. Okay, I'll just add the style type which takes in the HTML. I will just quickly pass table th and td. Okay, table th comma td. And let us give them a border. Okay. Let us say 3px solid. Now don't focus on this. Please don't focus on this because I don't want to like confuse you. Sorry, I guess I'm making some mistake. Yeah. So as you can see, this is a really thick border. Let me just make it to 1px better, to make it much more seeable. So as you can see, now we can see the table much more nicely. Now, what is this? I'll basically explain you the style tag as well. But now just to, understand how table works, I will just, give you a summary once again. Well, you have the table tag, and inside the table tags, you have your table rows, like 1, 2, 3. You can have multiple rows, right? And inside these rows, you will have your table heads, which are the, name of the columns. Like for example, you can say age, height, etc. And then in the second rows, you can have the TD tag, that is your table data, right? So as you can see, this is the output. I hope you understood. Do you have any questions?
Will
Can
you
just
show the
please type-
data you input in that border?
So you want to see this, right? You mean you want to just see the style, right?
Just
Yeah, okay, no problem. You can go ahead and
1px
copy that.
solid.
No problem.
Okay, 1px solid. Okay.
So anyone,
Hello.
I mean, do you have any
Hello.
doubts regarding table? Or
My
can you
question
at
was,
least type yes if you understood this?
hello.
Yes, you are audible.
My question was, what if I want to increase the spacing between columns and rows?
See, as I told you, this is a part of CSS, and we have not started CSS yet because I guess you didn't even understand the syntax of table, th, and that td. You didn't understand how that works, right? So it's better, if you just wait and watch, and you have that patience and suspense to learn CSS. Because if I start right now, I have to like switch completely from HTML and then start CSS. So I guess you can wait for that. We will be looking at each and everything. Like you will
So
be
is
understanding each and everything.
so is increasing the spacing between columns and rows is the part of CSS you're telling?
As I yes.
Okay.
Basically, it's styling, right? Styling, you can do using most of the styles are done using. It should be done, in fact, I'll say using CSS. Okay. Okay. So moving forward, can you all just type quickly yes if you understood this? Because I'm not seeing any replies. I mean, I guess you are not understanding, or maybe you are physically present but mentally absent. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so moving towards the next quickly. The next one is also really important, which is the forms tag. Now, basically, why forms are used? An HTML form is used to collect user input, which is really important. The user input is most often sent to a server for processing. For example, you might all know about Google Forms, right? I mean, you every day you are like, even including me, we what we do is we wait in the lecture, right, to get that attendance form, input all of our data like our roll number, and just submit and get the attendance. And I hope that you all know what forms are, so I don't need to explain what forms are. You have seen forms like throughout this uh, online mode. Yeah. So now what, let us look at how forms work on the code side, and let us make an actual form on our website. Okay. So first of all, what you need to use is the form tag, right? So let us quickly go towards our HTML code. Okay, so now let us basically remove the table, or we can just keep that table and press Control and / to comment it. And now we'll be starting with our form. So as we have seen earlier, this is just a container, right? This will not show anything. And I guess you notice that whenever I type form, what happens is that you get this automatically, this action attribute. And just to like quickly tell you what the action attribute is. Well, basically what action attribute does is it specifies where to send the form data. For example, you enter your name, you enter your roll number, you enter your email. So where does that data need to be sent after you click the submit button? That's the work of the action attribute. And tomorrow, when you learn JavaScript, you will be looking more about the back. You can say the working side. As I told you, JavaScript is the muscle of the website, right? It makes the website functional. So about action tag you will be learning, but for right now, let's just remove it, because we don't need it in our static web page right now. Yeah. So one more thing is that as I told you, it's a box. Now what we basically, why do we use a form? Can anyone just quickly tell me why do we use a form? Like, for what? What's the main basic goal of using a form, or giving a form to someone?
To fetch data.
User
Exactly.
input.
Exactly. All your answers are correct. To fetch input, right? So how do you get an input? Is this is where the use of an input tag comes in. Okay. And the input tags is used for, and you guessed it, inputs. Okay. So an input element can be displayed in many ways depending on the type attribute. Now I'll just be showing quickly to you. Let us say I just type here input. Okay. Yeah. So open it side by side. Now inside this, I have to add an input tag. Okay. Input tag. Once I add input, we have to give it a type. Now right now I'm not giving it a type. Let's see just what happens. Let us say I give it a type of text. Okay. And then just name, just leave it empty for now, and just close this tag. Okay. And can anyone just remember, like, what are tags without any end called? Like, this doesn't have an ending tag. Like, what is this tag called? You can type your answers into the chat box. We just discussed that in the previous slides. In like tags without the end tag, and without any content. Hello,
Empty
am I
tag or
audible? Yes. You have a really good memory. You remember that. Okay. So it's an empty tag, right? So okay, going back to our website. Now we have over here our type. Let's just remove that thing from there. Okay. I guess there's some, yeah, okay. There was some glitch, I guess, in there. Okay, so now we have an input type text. As you can see over here, we get a text box, right? Now, one of the things that you need to remember is that when you put a form, your user sees that form, he should know what to input. Now, for example, in this now, you just see an empty, an empty text box. Now you don't know what it could be a thing for your password, but when you enter your password, you see that it's showing the text. So you don't know what to enter. It could be your name, it could be your age, it could be your email. So one of the labels that we just told the thing. One of the tags that we use to keep things clear is the label tag. So let us add that as well quickly. Label. And one more thing is that this has a for attribute over here, okay? And if you just hover your mouse over it, it will show you what that for is used for. And in this label, we can in the content of the label, we can add why or what the user should input in the next input. Now I'll just add here. Let's say name, okay? And let us quickly see what happens. We get a label, and then we have the input. Now let us say I want this on the next line. What do you think I should do? Can anyone just quickly answer? What I just want this text box in the next line, like after name. What should I do?
BR tag.
BR.
Ah, yes, very nice. So just I'll just quickly add this BR tag over here. BR. That's it. And as you can see, it comes over there. Now just for your practice, I'll just quickly make this my first name. Okay, and it changes to first name, and then we have here. And one more thing, because see, for better readability, what you need to do is mention which label is connected to which input. For example, if you have 10 inputs and 10 labels, especially when you look at the code, it's really difficult to judge which label is for which input. So what we do is use the ID attribute for the input, okay, and the for attribute in the label, and we link this. Let's say this label is for, let's say, f name, and here the ID of the input, which is like you have your college ID, which basically separates and segregates you from other students. Similarly, the ID of the input separates it from the other input, because we are going to have multiple input tags, right? So what we'll do is just in the ID place, we are just going to type f name, and thus these two get linked. Okay, we know that this label first name is for this input, which is of type text. So similarly, let's look at other types of inputs quickly. So let us say I just add an input. In fact, what? Let us just copy this text for getting quicker results. Let's just copy and paste it. Now instead of for, let us make it. Let us say this input is for, let us say, gender. Okay, like what's the gender? Now in the input, let us basically change this type to, let us say, radio. Okay, now here we have a radio button. As you can see, once we click it, it gets clicked. Okay, so this is what your type does. Okay, similarly, if you add an input, if you need an input in the form of let's say checkbox, there is a type known as checkbox, which will basically give you a checkbox over here. Okay, and let's do one thing. Basically, let's add all of these like one by one, so you can compare them all together. Let us take this. And yeah, sorry to forget the BR. You might get confused for that. It's at BR. Okay. So let us change this text to, let's say, gender. Okay. As you can see, we get gender over here. Okay. Now the next type is radio, right? So now what I can do is remove this for one for here, because this is a simple element which will not, receive any input. So now let us add this here again. Let us just take the label. I hope you are following this. You're just adding a label, and instead of gender, what I can say is, let's add it, make it male. Okay. So this is the label, and as I told you, we should link it to the label. So for, and over here, let me just pass. Let us say the ID is male, and over here I'll just pass male. Okay. So as you can see over here, we get a radio button. Now similarly, let's just quickly add some more types. let's go. You can, play with this code as much as you want. You can get different types of outputs. Br. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And similarly, you can just, like change this to, let's say, checkbox. And, just to read, like, just to tell you about how many types are there, because, I don't want to waste your time. I'll just, quickly, like, go ahead and tell you how many types of inputs, you can get from form. You can get, button, checkbox, color, date. Color is, really important. Let me just, show you color, like how color works. Over here, as you can see, you can, accept a color from this. Let me just, it's a bit small. You can, choose any color and input. And, one more attribute which is really important for, you to understand is in the input, you should, also pass the value. And, in the value attribute, basically you pass the variable where you want to store this. For example, if someone, enters, let's say Hamza over here. Okay. Now, where does this Hamza get stored? In which variable does this Hamza get stored? Is, defined by adding the value attribute. Okay. So for this, in this case, for this text one, we can, simply add our value over here is equal to first name. Okay. Let's say first name. And one thing, like tomorrow when we'll be learning JavaScript, under the guidance of Zaki, what will happen is that we will be, learning how to, accept this input and, how to process the input using JavaScript as well. Okay, so I guess that's like enough for forms. You can make many complex forms using just this technique. So we will quickly move forward. And once again, let me just, ask you that, do you have any questions? Like at this point, do you have any questions? Hello.
Hamza, you have to scroll down.
Scroll down means on
Chat
VS Code.
section. Chat section.
Yes, I've just scrolled down. I guess I was on the other window. If no queries, type no. Okay, so I guess no one has. Okay, someone is asking value wala repeat karo please. Okay, yeah, actually I was expecting that question from someone, that what is this value? Well, just to give you an example, you have seen such type of things in maths, right? For example, you say x is equal to, this is not HTML, by the way. You say, let's say x is equal to 10, right? So what is happening is that you are assigning the value of 10 to x, right? This is your variable, and you are assigning the value 10 to your variable, right? So similarly, like you are going to accept some input, right? Now this input may be in the form of text. This input may be in the form of, radio options like radio buttons. This text may be in the form, this input may be in the type of, color, where you would be, getting a hex value for your colors, and, much more. So basically what you are doing using the value is that, you are specifying in which variable you want to store that input value. Whatever the user inputs, where do you want to store that? You are specifying that using the value. I hope that makes it clear. Okay, so let's move forward with the next slide. Now, that was like, most of the theory that we have learned. And I hope that, we learned some useful types. Now, let's actually try and develop, an actual beginner website using HTML, which we will be styling on later, using CSS. So as of now, what we will be doing is, basically learning HTML and like making this basic, like, extremely basic website using HTML. So yes, let's start. So I'll just, quickly jump to the code. And what I'll do is, open this in a, let's say, split view, and, keep this in the side. Okay. So let's do one thing, like, let us just quickly comment all of this. and start our actual website. Now, what I want you to do is, take a new page. First of all, take a new file, and you can make it my, let's say, my website. In fact, the better thing, what you can do is, as we do, we will be making a portfolio website, right? So, you can make this file as, my achievements, okay, dot html. Don't forget that dot html, okay? So I hope you are following nicely. Okay, so now what's the first step? Can anyone just quickly tell me what's the first step in starting
HTML
a
files
website?
to get the boilerplate.
Exactly. So first of all, as you know, we need a good foundation. So we'll just go to HTML5, get that boilerplate. Hope this is clear. Now, as you all know, we have to start everything in our body tag, right? So first of all, we will be adding something known as a section tag. So what section tag will do is basically make a section for your website. So these are basic tags which you can learn about and use them in your websites, and you will be learning about them as as I told you, there are above 100 tags, right? So, you can just quickly look at the documentation for each and every tag, and expand your knowledge. So this is the first tag that we are using, section tag. Oh, sorry. Now inside the section tag, what I want you to do is add one more tag known as the div class div tag. Okay, div tag. Now inside the div tag, we will be adding a class. Now basically what class does is it again separates your elements from different elements. For example, you might have you can say 20 different divs, right? Sorry for that. You might have 20 different divs. Like let's say div, then below that div, you have, or you can have some divs nested inside of this. Now how do you separate those divs, right? So you use some you use an attribute known as class. So for example, let's say you have car, right? Car is an element. Now there can be different cars, right? So what you do is you give a class like one car is a Toyota car. Then div class is equal to Toyota. Then you can say div class is equal to, let's say, Maruti Suzuki, and so on. Okay. So the first class that we'll be defining is let us name it. Let's see. Let us just simply name it content. Okay. And now inside this div class, what we need to do, sorry, I forgot to tell you what the div is, right? Basically, the div tag defines a division or a section in an HTML document. Okay, so that's the job of div tag. Now inside this content, first let us type a heading, right? We need a heading first to tell the user, what this document is. And by the way, we can quickly just, go ahead and change the title of document from, document to, let's say, you can say my achievements over here as well. Achievements. And, believe me, this exercise is, going to really boost up your mind. It will make you remember about the achievements that, you have achieved. Like, okay. So moving forward, let us just, in H1 say hello, everyone. Let me just, you are welcoming the readers. Hello, everyone. Just give an exclamation for fun. Okay. So now after this, let us, let's say that you want to tell the viewers of your website your name. So you can, after the main heading, we can just, add an H2 over there, which is the, a smaller heading, you can say. And inside H2, you can say, my name is Hamza. Okay. You can simply say, my name is Hamza over here. And then you can move forward and simply, let's see, add a simple another div class. Okay. You can just say div again. Okay. And now inside this div, you can also give it a class class is equal to, let's say in this division, in this box, we are going to add our achievements. Okay. So let us, give it a simple name. Let's say achievements. Okay. And now after this achievements, in this div class inside it, let us say, let's add an h4, which is basically a smaller heading. And inside h4, I hope you are following this. Inside h4, let us just quickly go and let's say here are my achievements. Okay. Or you can say this is an, this
Hello.
is, yes.
Can you reload the page simultaneously?
Yes, of course. Sorry, that's my bad. Actually, see, once we have changed the file, we basically need to stop our live server and run it again to get another instance. So till now, this is what we have done. I'm really sorry, I forgot to show this page. I'll just go over it again. All we have here is a section which is like a box, and then inside this section we have div, which is again like another box which we have given a class named content to segregate it from different divs. Like for example, here we have one more div, right? So to separate and name them separately, we have just given them a class. Okay, so class is also an attribute which we will learn about in CSS as well, and it's really important. Okay, so that's all I guess. In H1 we have just written hello everyone, which is over here sidebar. Let me just increase the size if you want. Okay, and then my name is Hamza. You can just add a full stop there, and then now we are achieving. Sorry, we are writing the achievement list. Okay, let us say my achievements. Okay, let us just give a colon over there. And now, let's start writing all of our achievements. So as you all know, we have seen a structure already. If you want to, give a list of our achievement, of course, as I told you, we are going to use a list, right? So simply what we can do is, make a list in which we can, put all of our achievements. So for list, does anyone remember the tag for list?
UL, right?
UL.
OL.
Okay, so you can put OL or UL, both are correct.
It
And
depends
in
on
case you forgot, and believe me, in case you forgot, you can just type HTML and just type list, and you can like see quickly about which list, what was the syntax. Okay, just imagine in case you forgot. I mean that's life of a web developer. You don't need to remember everything. You can just go and look at it. And just actually, I'm going to add this U tag over here and put it inside it. Okay, so now we are going to add our achievements, right? So now after this H4, actually I just made it wrong. 1 minute. Sorry for those typos. Yep, slash U. And, it's just going to indent that properly. And just paste this over here. Okay, my achievements. And now we can start adding our list, which is just UL. Okay. And inside the UL, we are going to add our achievements using the list item tag, right? Li. So in the li, li, we can add our achievements. You can, you people can go ahead and add your achievement. I'll be, adding a few of my achievements. I mean, to be frank, I don't have, a lot of achievements. Let us say that I am the assistant content writer at GDSC. Okay. Let us add one more achievement. Let's say scored 80% in 12th. Okay, it's a really basic website. I mean, I know that's not much, but okay, let us just write it anyways. Li, and then let's say completed a web workshop in GDSC. Although this workshop has not been completed, I'm just writing it. Okay, and then I guess I'm reaching the end of my thinking capacity. I'll just write blah blah over there. Okay, you can. I mean, I'm sure that you people have a lot of achievements. You can just write them as a list. Okay, now once this has been completed, what we can do is just for our practice, we can also add an image. Okay, to this thing. Yes, make the indents correctly. Okay, so I guess that's it. Now let us do one thing is that let's just quickly add an image. Okay, we'll go to image. Now, as you all remember, that image had a source and an alt. Okay, now let us say I want to add the image of let us say some good image. So you can just quickly go and download that image. Let us say gold medal images just for achievements. Let's just quickly save that image. Save image as. That's a big name. Let us just give it a medal. And this is an JPEG image. So let us just save that. Okay. So now once that's downloaded, it should show over here, but I don't know why it's not. I guess there's some glitch with me. So let us go ahead and basically let me use that same image .jpg and give it an alt. That is the alternate text. That image not found. Okay, and now one more attribute that we'll be learning over here, that we can add to, like, each one is a class. We can also add class over here. Let us give it a class to separate it in case someone adds more images. So let us add a class, and let us say we are going to paste this image on this side. Let us say we want this on this side. So what we'll do is basically name the image. Let's say side image. Okay, side image, and then we have the source. Okay, and I guess we don't need anything else. The source and all, and we have given the image, and so that's it. Now, how many of you could make this website? And who amongst you understood each and everything in this website? Like, it was a really basic website, where we basically implemented all the tags that we just learned. Hello.
Yes, understood.
Okay. Anyone else? If you have any doubt, please you can ask, and please just type yes
Hello.
if made this website. Yes, yes.
हेलो सर, अभी अपने जो ये कोड किए सर, ब्राउजर पे सर वाइट है तो उसको ब्लैक कैसे करें?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
He is asking to change the color of the background.
BG color he is asking for.
Acha, you want to change the background, right? That's what I'm saying. That all these beautification steps, these are going to be covered in CSS. These are right now, that's why I told you that just imagine like a body without skin. Like, you understand? You're understanding what I mean. Imagine a body without skin. So basically, the websites that we are making now, are really going to look dry, and you have to bear with me until we reach CSS. That's where the fun begins. So at least you understood all the content that was inside this code, right? Please type yes. Okay, so I can see a lot
Yes,
of
yes.
yes. Okay, so that's it, I guess. So let us move. So let's move further. Now, I guess finally we are over with HTML. I mean, there's a lot more to explore. I mean, HTML is not, something that you can cover in 2 hours, but, we have at least, at this moment, I hope that you at least have some basic idea, about how HTML layer of the website and, structure of these website works. Okay. So now let's start exploring, the beautiful side of web development, that is CSS. And as previously we did, let us quickly start with an introduction to what CSS is. So first of all, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. Okay, and CSS describes how HTML elements are to be displayed on screen, paper, or in other media. Now, I don't know if you understood what I meant. Basically, CSS, what the job of CSS is that it describes how this HTML element are to be displayed on the screen. For example, someone asked, the color. Why was it black? Because till now we didn't have CSS. Now, using CSS, what we can do is we can literally change anything. We can give it a color. We can add a background. We can add a margin, and we will be practicing it as we move on through CSS. Okay, so now CSS also saves a lot of work, and it can basically control the layout of multiple pages at once. As I mentioned in the why we separate these layers is that we can access multiple HTML files just using one CSS file, and one change in that CSS file can change multiple HTML files. So that's why external style sheets are stored in CSS files. Okay. So now, like naturally a question arises, right? Like, why should we use CSS? Like, what's the use of CSS? We can, why not just have a website like, this one? Why just not have a website in black and white? Well, CSS is not only used, for beautification. In fact, it's also used for, the designing and layout, and the variations in display for different devices and screen sizes. For example, if you have your website, okay, now you are viewing it in your computer. Now suddenly, let us say you want to see the same website in your mobile, where the screen is much smaller. So what would happen is that if you, for example, go to this website, we have made the website, and just quickly click on inspect element. Just right click and click on inspect element. What happens is that you get this size, and here you can see your width and your height, and you can just drag this. Now what is happening is that once you make it small, what is happening is it just gets too small, and this is the size of a mobile approximately. So just imagine if this website had a lot more content, and then you would try to crop it. So it would become really difficult for the user to understand. And one more example that I would really like to share is 1 second. Like, I would really like to ask you, like, can you recognize this website? Can any one of you recognize this website?
Facebook.
Okay, so I guess it took a lot of time because Facebook was basically written on my screen. But this is an example of what a website looks when you remove all the CSS. You strip off all the CSS from a website. So I mean, just imagine you went someday you went to Facebook and you saw this. You saw this. It would be such a it looks so awful, right? So this is one of the justifications that why you need CSS. And for beginners, you can say that it enhances your experience on websites. Okay, so I guess that example was enough for you to understand the importance of CSS. So we will be moving to the next thing, and we will be looking at some fun facts about CSS. Okay, so first of all, you should know that previously, when CSS was not there, HTML was created before CSS, right? So some tags, like the font tag, and some color attributes were added to HTML 3.2, which is a version of older version of HTML. Okay, and I guess someone asked before that why we use HTML5. So HTML, we use HTML5 and we type HTML5 because that the current version of HTML is 5. Okay. So in version 3.2, what happened was, to add styles, what one did was that they, added tags like font, and then in that font they added attributes like colors. What it did was it started a nightmare for web developers, because just imagine for a second that you have to style each and every element. I mean, in a proper website, there are like you can say 200, 300 to 2000 lines of code. So just imagine going to every element and writing the font, specifying the border, color, and like it's such a tedious process. So what happened was that due to this process, like every single page, it became really long and expensive process to make. To solve this problem, the World Wide Web Consortium, basically, what is this World Wide Web Consortium? For example, in cricket, you have ICC, right, which basically defines the standards. Like, it defines the rules of cricket. Similarly, you have W3C, which, created CSS, and, it is a standard for the, World Wide Web. And what this CSS, as a result, what happened was that it removed the styling format of the HTML page. And what we could do is, as we have discussed earlier, with an external style sheet, we can simply, just simply change the look of the entire website by just changing one file and linking it to the HTML pages. So, I hope you enjoyed that quick history class on CSS. So now, let's move on and actually start using CSS on website that we built in the previous practical. That is, my achievement website. So right now, you might be wondering, like, how do we actually link this CSS and the HTML file, right? I mean, now, see, we have an HTML file and we have a CSS. We have both of them. But how do you like actually, link these? So, well, let me not waste your time and show you. You have three methods to do that. The first one is, your inline CSS. And, we'll be looking at them one by one. So basically, in inline CSS, we use, we just embed it into the attribute and, and we use the style attribute to do this. Okay. So just an example, I'll just quickly show you the example, how we do it. 1 minute, let me just open this my achieve. This is our website that we just made. I hope you made it as well. Okay. So this is, let's just remove this inspect element. Keep them side by side. Let's make it a bit small. Okay. Now let us say, for example, let us say I wanted to change the color of, say, hello everyone. Okay. So one thing that I could do is basically navigate to where H1 is. Here's the hello everyone. I hope you can see this on my screen. Or if you want, I can enlarge it, I guess, a bit. Let's just enlarge it. Okay. So here you have the H1. What you can do is go into this attribute and simply add style. Okay. Simply add a style attribute in the tag, and let's say style is equal to, and then in commas you can say, let's say color. Okay. Let us go with color, and let us say color colon. The color is the key, and let us give it a value. Let us say orange, or in fact even better, like a dark color. Let us say orange red. And as you can see here, we have successfully changed that to orange red. So what we did, like just the summary was that we added this style attribute into the H1 tag. Now just imagine for a second that if we had to do this with each and every tag, like go to the H2, then go to this U tag over here, then the LI tag, then UL tag. I mean, this would be a really tedious process, right? So I guess we have to look at some other alternate to how to do that. So well, we'll be moving to the next slide, and this is where we talk about internally embedded CSS. Now to apply this internally embedded CSS, let us first of all understand what internally embedded means. We used this word before when we talked about images, right? When we talk about adding the image tag, we use this embedded word. So similarly, internal styles are defined within the style element. Now this is the style tag. This is a new tag which you saw, and I told you that we would be explaining this later on. So this element goes inside, by convention, of course. It's not necessary to do this, but you should put it inside of the head section of the HTML page. So now we'll be applying that quickly as well. Now let us say I want to do the same task. The same task, from, let's say, the style tag, using the style tag. Let me just remove that from there. So going back here, then give me over this. Okay. So now what we will do is, as I mentioned, in the head tag, we'll be adding a tag known as style. Okay. Just add style. I hope you all are following me. Okay. Just answer yes. Can anyone just quickly answer yes if you are following? Or do you have any questions?
Yes, we are following.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so moving forward, 1 minute. Yeah. So now we have our style tag. Okay. Now inside this style tag, let us say I want to access this one. Okay. Let us say I want to access H1. So what I do is basically, type H1 over here. More details about that coming forward. Just simply type H1 with curly brackets. Okay. Use the curly brackets, and inside the curly brackets, what I can say is, directly give and specify the key. Let us say I want to change the color as this time as well. Or no, let us say I want to change the font size. Okay. Let us say I want to change the font size. So I'll just be typing font size. Okay. Colon. And then I'll be giving the value. Now the value can be, in many different forms. Like, you have PX over here. Then you have, fixed values like you have medium, small, large, XL, etc. So right now, let us go simple. Let us just make it like 150. And let us say PX and then, give a colon. This colon is really important if you want to, give other attributes. You can also give multiple things. I guess this became very big, so let me make it 100. Okay, quickly. In fact, you know what? Let us make it 70. So I guess this is a good size. Okay, 70. Now, with font size, you can also add multiple attributes in this way. You can, go ahead and let's say add color over there. After the semicolon, just add color. And let us say I set the color to let us say orange. Okay, so that's orange. Let us see if it changed. Yeah, so as you can see, the color of hello everyone has changed to orange. Okay, so this was just an example of how we use the style tags, or what we call our embedded CSS. Okay, internally embedded CSS. So this is one of the ways. Now moving forward, I hope you understood that, right? Okay. So moving forward, we have the final one, which is, I guess, the most important. And this one is, the one which we'll be applying practically to our website. And we'll be using this one, which is the external CSS. Okay. So with this method, basically what happens is that all the styling rules, like each and every part of CSS code are contained in a single text file. Okay, which is saved with the .css file extension. So now what we are doing is that we will create a CSS file and transfer all of the CSS code and this what we call styles into that file, and then we will link that HTML and that CSS file using the link tag. Okay, now let us just quickly see how that's done. Okay, so going back to our file, which is over here. Let us open the live server as well. Okay, and just quickly what we'll do is open this one, and let us say I will just remove this, or better to just comment it, for your reference. Like you can just see if I mean we did that. Now as you can see, as I removed the style, like it's gone from here. Now let us do one thing. Let us add a new CSS file. Okay. Now as you can see here, there are no CSS files. Let us just add a file. Now please follow this step really carefully, because if you don't do it correctly, your CSS file is not going to get linked. Okay. So let us name the file like style, which is again a convention. Most of the people do it style.css. Okay, style.css. So this is a CSS file. Okay, you can see this hash symbol over here, which is like the symbol for CSS file. Click on enter. Now you can see this file has started. Okay. Now what I want to do first is to link this file to our HTML file, right? Now here's the HTML file and here's the CSS file. Now I want to link this CSS file to my HTML. So for that, as I mentioned earlier, we will be using the link tag. Okay. And here's how the link tag works. Okay. Let's just quickly go there. Let us add a link. Okay. Now once you click on once you add link, let us say li link, automatically, as you can see, it gives you a recommendation. It predicts your text that you will be needing a rel and an href. Okay. Now basically this rel is basically what we call the link relation. Okay, which will which shows that you have to link to this. And in the href, as you know, we have previously seen this in the image, right? The href attribute, we will be passing the url or the path of that same file. Okay, so in this case it's just simply style.css. Okay, now we don't actually need this type. It's also an attribute which you can refer later, but we don't need it as of now. Okay, we'll just give it link, which is rel, and style sheet. Okay, you can take a good look at this. I'll give you like 10 seconds to quickly look at this. You have a rel, which is your link relation, and then you have the style sheet. Okay, and this should always be in your head section. Okay, so I hope that's done. Okay, so this is your href where you have the path. Okay, so moving forward, going to the style. Now what I can do is do the same thing over here. Let us say I again want to, this time let us change the thing. Let us say access the elements of the list. Okay, let us say I want to access this list over here. So what I will do is, I mean, you will be learning about the selectors as well in the next slide, but for now just understand this, that let us say I want to access the u tag. Okay, my achievement. So I'll just simply go over here and type u. Okay, go inside, and let us say this time let us give a new thing. Okay, let us say background color. Okay, background color. Okay, let us say I want to give it a background color of say gray. Okay, so let us see what happens. As you can see here, the box has become gray. So this means that we have like successfully linked both of these files. Okay, this one and this one. So I hope you all understood that. Can you just quickly type yes if you did?
सर एक बार फिर से बताओ.
Okay, so which part did you
Link, sir, link.
did not understand? Link, no? Okay, no problem. So see, yeah. So here's the link tag. Now what the link tag is used is to link your this CSS file to your HTML file. Okay, your CSS file to your HTML file. Now this tag, has two attributes. One is the rel, okay, which is the link relation, which you define as style sheet, and the other is href, which you have already used in your image. You basically give the path to the image, right? So similarly, in this case, you have to give the path or the name of your CSS file, okay, which is in our case over here. You can see in the left side, style.css. So that's all I've done. And with this link tag, what has happened is that we have linked both of these files. And now once I pass any command, like any syntax of CSS into this file, it will affect this file. As you can see, we have already tried that and changed the background to gray. Okay, I hope you got it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so moving forward, these were basically the three ways that you do it. Inline, which is again, I'll just summarize, putting an attribute style inside the tag itself. Then the second was embedded, in which what we did was use the style tag in the head. And the last one, what we did was we made a separate file and linked the file to the HTML using the link tag, and then we styled our elements. Okay. So quickly moving forward, now this is where the important stuff, that this is the base of, you can say, CSS, which is the CSS syntax. Okay. Now as you saw, you're wondering like what was the code, right? So basically in each CSS syntax, the first part starts with the selector. More on that in the next slide about what selectors are. Then you have the property, like for example font size, margin, font weight, etc. And then you have the value. For example, if the property was color, so you would say orange or black or whatever, and then it ends with a semicolon. And after this semicolon, you can pass multiple CSS syntaxes, and this together is known as a declaration in the CSS. You can say, and technically what you call CSS. So now let us see about what selectors are.
Hamza,
Yes.
Hamza, sorry to disturb you. If
yes, yes.
you are like attending your lecture, if you are attending a lecture, so please just notify the audience that the lecture has been extended. So because I am noticing the many people are leaving, so you just बता दो लोगों की lecture extend हो रहा है. That's all.
Okay, okay, no problem. Thank you. Yes, so as you heard our lead, I guess, as we have been going a bit slow, but I hope, you are understanding each and everything, because my aim is, that you should leave this workshop, with something in your hands. You should have some knowledge, right? So I guess we have to extend the lecture. Let us say, I guess it will take at least like 15 to 30 minutes. We have to extend the lecture. And, this is really important. So I guess, you have to like, I will try my best to, go quickly and we'll be extending the lecture. So that's all. So let us continue. So this is, really important, selectors. And now let us look at what selectors. So let us say, for example, you have many fishes in a pond, right? Like, you say a red fish, a yellow fish, and a blue fish. Now let's say you want to catch multiple fishes. Like, you want to catch all the fishes, or, you can say multiple fishes. You would use a net, right? You would use a big net. But let us say if you just wanted that one fish, okay, you would have basically used a hook, right? A fishing hook. And similarly, if you just wanted, let's say one specific breed of fish, so you had to, like use some different technique, right? So similarly, to access and change the properties of, specific elements from a huge HTML file, what we need is that, we use these selectors. Okay. Now, as you saw in our file, let us say this file was, of let's say hundreds of lines, with hundreds of different tags. And let us say you want to access just this one tag. Let us say this li. So, you use selectors for that purpose. And how you use that, we will be looking in the next slide. So, basic selectors in CSS, and we will be practicing them one by one. So, these selectors, are ranked, according to their specificity. What you call like, for example, ID, can be only one ID for each element. Like, for example, if you in this code, we will actually be looking at code, and it's better to start from here. Let us say I name this list element and I give it an ID. Let us say I give it big achievement, big achievements. Okay, this, like, let us say becoming content writer is like a big achievement, and I give it an ID. So I should never give this ID to other elements. Okay, now let us say I just wanted to access this particular thing. Okay, and better to explain, what better way to explain than first of all removing this, just quickly showing you what will happen if I select UL. Let us say in my CSS file, which you saw earlier, what I do is, after this line, I say UL, okay, which is my unordered list, and I say font color, okay, let us say font, sorry, not font color, it should be just color. So let us say I give it a color to blue. Okay, so as you can see on the left side, all of these content, all of the list items have turned into blue, right? Okay, but now just let us consider I just wanted to turn this specific list item into blue, just this one. Okay, so what I do is I cannot say that go to li, because there are multiple li's, right? So what I do is add an ID. Let us say I add an ID as I did earlier. Just press Ctrl Z and we'll get it, which is ID big achievements. So what I can do is basically copy this big achievements, get over here, and use the one second, and use the hash selector. Now see, this is a selector, as you can see, hash. And what hash does it, it targets specific IDs. It when you pass the name of that ID, it will only target that ID and apply the value for that ID. Now over back to our code. Let us say I just paste that big achievements, and before that I add the hash selector. Okay, I have to add the hash selector. Just give the brackets, and now let us say I give it a color. Okay, color is equal to, I have to change the color, right, for you to understand. So let us say I just say red. Okay, So as you can see, on just this one element has changed into red. So this is like one of the ways how you access that element. How you access that element using your uh, selectors. Okay. Now similarly, there are more selectors, and I guess like by now you have understood what the class attribute was, right? So for accessing the class attribute, you use the dot selector over here. Okay. For example, let me just show you that quickly again. Get back here. Let us say we have this. Someone asked this question, right? Like for example, if you wanted to change the background, right, to black. Okay, so you can, like everything is inside this div class content, right? So what you can do is basically, take this content from here, just copy that, and for class you have to use the dot selector. Okay, dot selector, paste that without the quotes, of course, and then just say, let us say background color is equal to, let us instead of black, let us put it gray, because if we put it black, we wouldn't be able to see our code. Like everything would just go black. Okay, come on, let us add black. Let's see what happens. As you can see, this whole div has just gone black. We got a black screen, and you can just see all the code with other colors on it. Okay, so this is an example of how we use the class. Again, I am repeating myself. The hash selector is used for IDs. Okay, hash selector is used to access the IDs. Okay, and the dot selector is used to access the class. Okay. So now let us just remove this because because it looks awful. Yeah, this is much better. Okay. So moving on, the next one we have is element dot class. Now, for example, let us say something is nested inside an element. So how to specify it. Like for example, inside this div, okay, we want to change the color of H4. So what we do is we first tell the name of the element, okay, which is the div. Let us go here. We just say div, okay, and then pass the name of the class. So let us say I just put a class over here. Class is equal to, okay, let us say this class is my achievements. Okay, just give it the same name, just to keep things simple. I mean, you can give it any name that you want. Okay, let us say it's my achievements, and just copy this my achievements from here. It's better not to leave a space. Just copy, go to style CSS. Now inside div, now see, this is the pattern. What we are saying to CSS is, go inside div, then go into the class my achievement, and then apply these following properties. Now let us say I say the best thing is color, but let us say I want to add some font weight. Okay. Now what is font weight? Is basically the bold thing. Let us say I make it font weight to bold. Okay. Now one more thing. Let us remove this gray. Actually, it looks really bad. Just remove this one. Now let us say I want to increase the font weight to, let us say, 40 px. Let us see what's happening. Okay. So I guess the problem is that we didn't mention the class of the div, so that's why it's happening. So anyhow, this was the element dot class. Okay, I mean where we put the element. Like for example, in this case there is p, which is a paragraph tag, and then we are doing a dot intro. Okay, where we go inside the intro, and then we are accessing the. It says that like select only p elements with class intro. Okay. Then we have a star selector, which basically is like select all. Okay, select. It says like select everything. So that one also we can try. We can just like, for example, remove this. Okay, we are just passing star. Okay, star, select everything, and let us say change the color. Color to, let us say, blue. So as you can see, each and everything, all the tags have been like, changed to blue. So similarly, you have, at least I will say you have more than this actually. You have 20 to, I guess, 20 to 25 different selectors. But, these are the most basic selectors which we use. Now all you have to remember, you don't need to go and memorize each and every selector. All you have to remember is this basic syntax of the selectors, like where you put the selector of what element you want to access, and then you put its property, and then you put its value. Okay, so I guess you understood that, and I know that this was a little bit hard. So can you just quickly say that if you understood, just type yes, or and if you don't, you can ask the question. Okay, so like most of them have understood. Sir, please explain div. So I guess you're asking about the tag. If you want to understand div completely, tag out YT, you can simply just type div in your Google and like look at it. You will understand much more. You can practice it. It's basically a tag which gives section to your code. Okay. Basically, the div tag, you can say, defines a division or a section. Like for example, the best example that I can think of right now, you have these quadrants, right? When you are in when you are learning maths in Cartesian, you are having these coordinates, right? Like you have the first one and the second, where plus plus minus. So these are like divisions, right? The different containers, you can say. So I know that's not a good example, but right now that's all I can think of. Okay, so most of the people understood what selectors were. Now we'll be moving forward, and I guess this section is over. Ask us any question. And now, I mean, this is the part. This is the end part which you all have been waiting for. Is the practical application on our website. Now we will be accessing our website which we made, and applying. We will be learning some more new styles as well, and applying the style to our website. So let us just keep this over here. Okay, and let us start with the CSS file. Now, basically, we don't have anything to do with the HTML file because we have done that already in the previous section. Now we'll be just looking at this. So first of all, let us start with an import rule. Now this is something new. Now don't get afraid when you see this. What import basically does is imports CSS files from some other places. Like in my case, what I'll be doing is getting this from one second. Let me just copy the link from Google Fonts. Okay, so now you might be wondering, like, from where did I get this link, right? So it's nothing complicated. For example, let us say want to add a new font. You can simply go to Google Fonts. Okay, fonts, and in Google Fonts, there are a lot of fonts. Like you can there's Arabic as well for some reason. You can just select any font, and you can select the style you want. Like if you want it in bold, if you want it less bold, you can just select this style, and then in this section you can get that import statement from here. Okay, this what this will do is basically provide your CSS file with different fonts. Okay, so that's all there is to it. So we'll be moving forward as I guess we are limited with time. So can anyone just quickly answer what the star selector was? Like what did we use the star selector for?
Select
Select
all.
all.
Select all elements. Yeah, perfect. So now, right now, let us go back to my achievements. Close this tab over here. Okay, open it. Okay, so now we are basically selecting all the elements, and what we are giving them is a margin. Now you might be wondering what margin is. Margin is basically another you can say what you call that. 1 minute. Margin is basically one more property which gives a margin. Now, do you know what margin means? Margin. Okay, if you don't know, let us just add something and see what happens. Now, let us say you forgot what margin was. Let us just add 50 and check what happens. Okay, and 50, yeah, 50 what? 50 px. I guess you remember the questions of your physics, right, sir? Right? It's like 50 what? Meters, yards, inches, what? So you have to guess, define the margin as 50. Now, what happens is that, as you can see, everything has got a margin. Margin is the area that surrounds the content. So each and everything, as you can see, has got a margin. So we don't need that much of a margin. Let us keep it at 0 or like just 1 px is enough, I guess. That's not much of a change. Okay. So now one more feature that I want to tell you about is padding. You know, this is also, and don't worry, I mean, you don't need to memorize each and everything. Once you start with web development, you start practicing these things, you can easily memorize, or you can say with practice you will learn, or anytime you can just go to any website and check about this. Okay, so let us say we add a padding of 10. Let us see what happens. Nothing happens. Why? Because padding, what it does is basically gives a padding at the ends. Okay, so let us keep this 0 for now, and let us add one more thing, which is box sizing, and let us give it a border box value. Okay, now what this does is basically the box sizing property allows us to include the padding and border in the element. Okay, so it's nothing like you need to remember anything of this. Now let us quickly see about, now this is for all the elements. Now let us say I want to go in and access this section. So what should I do? Can anyone just quickly tell me? I just want to access the section. What should I type?
Section and then curly brackets, I guess.
Exactly. Exactly. So basically you just need to type your element name, which will select that element. Okay. And you are using this as a selector. Okay. And just then you can add your properties. Like for example, in my case, let us say add a padding of 50 px and 100 px. You might be wondering how I'm passing two paddings in for one of this, right? So basically what happens, by default the first padding is for the top, and then you have the second one for your right. So that's 100 from here. Let us just quickly show you. Let us make it 500. Let's see what happens. You can see from here we have gone like 500 meter, like 500 pixels to this side, right? So that's like just quickly showing you what happens. So let's make it 100 again, is what we need. Okay. Now let us go and let us say min height. This is the minimum height that we are defining. So minimum height is equal to 100 VH. Okay. And basically, you might be wondering what VH is. VH is, also you can say measurement unit that we use in CSS. And, it is relative to the vertical height. For example, let me just show you this really quickly. For example, now if I make this small, this height is not changing, right? So now let me just give it a max height as well. Okay, max HEIGHT height is equal to 100 VH. Okay, so now let us check what happens. And of course, we have to also add in the position. And one more keyword that I would like you to know is a exclamation important. Okay, now what this exclamation important does is it overrides all the other things. Like for example, let us say here you had one more section, which basically, let us say you had one more section in where you set the max height to, let us say 50, right? Let us say you made it 50. But what will happen if you add important over here is it will give more preference to this one, and it will override this value. Okay, so that's like that's it. And then the position you can add over here. Position is, let's say, relative. Okay, colon. So let us check what happens. Is there's some yeah, one more thing that we have to add is the display is equal to flex. Now these properties you have to basically look on the W3 school or any website. You can just refer all of these properties if you are not understanding them now. Like for example, if you didn't understand VH,
Have you
you
typed the
have
spelling wrong of the relative?
yeah, sorry, my bad. Yeah, that's why you see that's why the color was white. I mean, I didn't focus on that. So now as you can see, the VH, as I told you, this basically what VH is, it gives relative height to the viewport, and when you adjust the window height, it should change, right? As you can see, once we are changing the height, the image is also it's relative, it's changing relatively. Now if this was PX, it would remain the same thing. Okay. So yeah, where's the VS code? Now moving forward. Okay, so now let us say I want to access the content inside this section. So what do you think I should type over here? Like this content class inside the section element. Content class inside the section element. You can have a quick look at this if you want. Okay, I guess you are not answering, so I can answer that, no problem. Section, and then we will be using our dot selector, and then we will be accessing the content class. Okay, so let us just quickly type content, and inside content, let us say we can adjust its max width to 650 px. Okay, and one more property that I would like to tell you is about z index. What this z index does is basically it shows the browser what indexing is. Like for example, let us say I open my Google other window, right? Now see, this window is over this one, right? So basically this is in the negative z index, you can say. Just imagine an axis coming from your screen, right? So this is the z index in which this is behind this. Now it's in front, so I can say the z index is plus. Okay, z index is 1 for this VS code. Now Z index is, you can say -1 for our VS code. So that's what it does. So let us say the Z index of the content. I want the content to, be in front, because see what will happen when we, close this image. For example, over here, this text and this image will, get over each other. So what I want is, this text to be visible at all times. So what I'm doing is that setting the content in the Z index to 1. And okay, so that's it. Now let us say I want to access the h1 over here. Okay, here's the h1. So I'll be going into the class, and then I'll be going into the element. So similarly, I just have to type section dot content, or in fact, what you should do, the better practice is to just copy it from here in order to avoid mistakes. Just paste it over here, and then type the next one, h1, go inside. Okay. Now let me just show you the page as well. This is the page. I have to see it as well. Just full screen this thing. Let us say I want to increase the font size, right? So let us increase it. Font size equal to 2.5 pm. Nothing to be afraid of. Again, this is also a new measurement, which is also relational. And let us add some weight. Like weight is basically, how much bold you want that text to be. So let us add font weight, which is already given here by, VS Code. Let us add it to be 500. And let us see what happens. There's a problem with this, sorry. Yeah, so now as you can see, we have changed the font weight. And then in the end, we are going to add the line height. Okay. Now what this line height is that, it shows the difference, the distance between lines. For example, we have this line and this line. The distance between these two lines is the line height. So let us make it like not much, just 1 em. So as you can see, these things, they got like much closer after we added this. Okay. Now similarly, let us just also change the h2 over here. Okay. Just copy. This is just basically practice of how to access these elements. So now we are accessing h2 from section inside the content class, and then we are going to h2. Okay. So let us just copy this from here, and we can just adjust the values according to our need.
Sorry to interrupt again. Like it's 5:40. Just wrap it up fast. It's 5:40. Audience is kind of bored. So just wrap it
Okay,
up fast.
right. Yes, you are right. I
Okay.
guess I have to do
Hello.
that. I have to wrap it up fast. So
Yes.
let me do one thing.
Hello.
Yes,
It
you are
would be
audible.
better
Yes,
if
you can.
you
Yeah,
continued
can you give a
tomorrow
suggestion
because
tomorrow?
we will be
That's what
ready
I'm telling.
that
No,
Yeah,
yes,
the
actually,
sir.
too
lecture will
much
be
to digest
extended
in one day.
Yes,
rather
yes.
than
Okay.
You
going
can
fast.
continue the CSS tomorrow so we
Yeah,
can more
yeah,
That's
focus
too
focus
much for
more.
one
because
day.
Rather
we are
than
kind of
going
bored
fast,
now.
we can do that.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do one thing. Let's wind up. Zaki, if that's fine with you. Hello, Zaki. Okay. So
Yeah, it's
actually,
fine.
okay. So let us wind up the session quickly. So I guess let us just quickly summarize what we learned over here. I guess all of you understood about selectors, right?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I guess you have to start accessing each of them, and we will be learning CSS, of course, when we make the what we call our portfolio website again. So let us wind up the session, and I guess that's all. It was really fun with to explain these things to you,
Yeah,
and I
sure.
hope you enjoyed it. Okay,
Yes,
so
thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
That's all, folks. Yeah? Okay, you're welcome.
Bye bye.
Thanks a lot.
Hello,
Yeah, everyone.
admin. You can just stop
Yeah,
the
before
recording.
leaving, yeah, make sure that you RSVP in the attendance.
hello. There's one question regarding attendance. In that form, we have to log in and just confirm the RSVP form, right?
Yeah, you have to
Nothing.
log in, and then on the RSVP, you have to enter your details. And it
Correct.
just asks your email and name and
Yeah.
your area of interest in that thing, and you have
Yes.
to submit it.
Okay. That's it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Daniel, you can stop the recording. It's still going on.
Okay, sure.